All right, everybody, welcome out to Windshield Time at Mountainland Supply. I'm Joey. I'm here with Brandon, our CEO.
Hey, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning, Windshield.
Also here with Mr. Spencer R. Shorts, Esquire III.
Good morning, everybody.
Best 1 second of podcast land you ever heard. Today we're joined by Michael something Funk Jr.
Hello, everyone.
Hold on, what's the middle name?
David.
Michael D. Funk. That's like a pretty good name. You could be a
Strong name, right?
LDS author.
Yeah,
I was going to say it's more of an artist, a singer.
Michael D. Funk, like Michael B. Jordan. Yeah, you could be.
Michael D. Funk.
Maybe one day.
Yeah.
Not today.
I like it. So Mike is our senior operations director. And do you have a region that they put at the end of that?
Nope, just senior operations director.
So that's one of two senior operations directors, right? Well, three. You, Shandon, and
Matt Scott.
Matt Scott, right?
Yep.
I had that right.
Yeah.
So Mike's over operations basically north of, so you got Idaho and you got
Idaho.
northern Utah.
Yeah, Idaho has two regions.
Yep. And then you got the Midwest, which is Missouri and Kansas.
Correct.
And then you got some in northern Utah and Wyoming.
Correct.
Yeah. So he's over all those operations, which is a hell of a footprint.
How much of our revenue do you oversee? Do you know?
Oh, no, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but it's pretty big.
You really should have had that prepared.
I should have,
know.
yeah.
Because you knew we only asked the hard questions.
The revenue, I
Yep.
should know.
We only asked the hard questions here.
I would almost suspect if I had to go out on a limb, a third, 40% maybe?
Probably.
A third to a 40%?
I'd say it's close to that. I bet it's close to 40%.
Yeah. Between a third to 40%, yeah.
You know what?
That's pretty
Spencer can't
crazy.
even look that up.
No, you can't. You can't verify that.
I mean, I could look it up, but then I'd have to bring up my computer. And
Is this like a debate where we have to fact check it? Everything we say?
somebody
on
will
the-
fact check us. We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
Do we actually have show notes?
We can put them in there. We can make show notes.
Yeah.
Oh,
You just send it to me.
these are things that I'm learning.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Shorts, for all you do. I know that you don't get the love from Joey, but you have my love.
Yeah, I get a different kind of love from Joey.
That's right. That's for the Mountainland After Dark. So, do you have a nickname you had growing up?
No, just Mike.
Lame.
Come on.
Nothing
You
from
didn't
my
have
parents.
like Buck or
nothing.
Buster?
No, no.
Lame.
Fucking Buster.
No.
I love it.
Buck
man.
and Busters.
With the last name Funk, you got to be cautious.
That's
so.
true. That is true.
So, did your mom call you Michael all the time, or was it Mike?
Oh, she called
It
him
was-
Michael.
It was
Michael.
Michael.
Do we
was
not
Michael.
remember Michael is sleeping?
Yeah, here we go.
How long did it take? Like 0.2
Yeah,
minutes
not
to
long.
get
I
into
knew,
this?
I knew this would come up. So
James will be proud of us.
Yep. Yeah, we had to give you a hard time on his
And
behalf.
you say that that didn't happen.
it may have happened.
Oh, the truth,
It may have
dude.
happened. Do you want the story with this?
Yeah, let's have
All
it.
right.
We got to hear your side of this.
Well, so James was trying to hire me.
Yeah.
And so he would call,
Yeah.
and I was
Was this at Plumbers or Great Western? Where was
probably this was Plumber Supply.
this? Okay. All right.
Early 20s, and at the time I had a job. It was working for a bread company.
Okay.
So we all know the bread companies have some crazy hours.
Oh, yeah.
right?
Way early.
way early,
Yeah.
and my job was a little bit unique because I was a pull-up driver, and so I would go around to 30 different grocery stores and bring the extra bread from the back to the front.
Okay.
But just I had weird hours, so when I was working, my friends weren't.
Yeah.
When they were working, I wasn't, and
Yeah.
so I spent a lot of time golfing, and
Like solo golfing.
and then I would sleep in.
yeah. Why
And
not?
so there could be some truth to the story because
But it's not because you were lazy. It's
no,
because you had been
yeah,
working.
It's not that I was sleeping in
Yeah.
just to sleep in
Michael
because I
is
was lazy,
sleeping.
but
See how it
I
comes
think it's
across when
sweet,
we hear
though.
it from Calvert is you're just sleeping in.
it's coming across exactly how he wants it.
exactly so.
So those of you in Windshield Wiperland that don't understand, Mike and James Calvert have a unique relationship. It's been fostered over many years of abuse from both sides.
Yeah,
And so it's fun to watch these two just spar back and forth.
we have a good time.
Yeah,
Have you
it's
noticed
fun.
that the common denominator in most of these types of relationships
James Calvert.
is James Calvert?
Yeah,
so.
James
Yeah, the guy knows everybody. So
Oh, yeah, he does.
Well, and a lot of these love-hate relationships it's him.
yeah, I always say misery loves company, and James loves to drag people along in his miserable adventures. So,
He does have miserable adventures, but at least he has adventures.
but they're fun.
He is.
We
fun,
do have
man.
a lot of fun.
Gosh,
on
he's a good time.
Yeah.
So a senior operations director, take a long time to get to a position like that. So where did you start out at? I guess in the industry. We'll start there.
In the industry, plumber supply company, way back in the day. I started probably around 99, 2000, but started as a driver.
Yeah. And how did you know Calvert?
Through a mutual friend.
Okay.
I'd played some basketball with James. And
Okay.
Through this mutual friend, we just got to know each other.
Okay.
Oh, it wasn't someone he dated?
No.
Oh.
Well, dated, related, or fornicated. That's what.
Yeah.
James
Be careful
is-
going down that road.
I know,
Exactly.
serious.
That's
How he
exactly.
knows everyone.
Yep. So he knew you as a friend and as a driver, so he had a driver position open, hired you as a driver.
Yep.
Okay. And then kind of what was your pathway from there?
I pretty much just kind of worked my way up through all the positions. I went from driver to receiving to dispatch. We worked at a really small branch, so I mean, in that branch, you had to just
Did a lot of everything.
wore many hats, and
Yeah.
so you just did. You chipped in wherever you were needed. Quickly went to dispatch. I think I went from driving to dispatch within about 6 or 8 months.
Okay.
Probably one of my favorite positions, even though it was probably the hardest position.
Super stressful.
Super stressful, but you just have an in with everybody. You know, whether it's
And your
customers,
days go by fast.
sales,
Yeah.
just the operations of the branch. You're in the mix of everything, and I really enjyed that position.
It's funny. Shannon
Even though
said
it was
the
a
same
lot
thing.
of hard work. It is hard work. But
Yeah. Shannon said the same thing for the similar reasons.
Yeah.
You know, super busy all day. You know everybody. You're kind of involved in everything.
Yeah. And the days
by
did go
fast.
quick.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you remember what he said. I already forgot it.
I have
Most
a
you're
really
better off.
perverse memory for stuff like that.
Just
like
kidding.
I remember conversations. I'll never forget conversations.
I love you,
I
Shannon.
forget
by the way.
everything else, but
I got to say that I love Shannon out there, but
most
so
of
he
the
doesn't
time,
get mad at me.
it depends on which Shannon you're getting. That's a
fair.
fact.
That's
Well,
fair.
Shout out to all the dispatchers out there. They do an awesome job for Mountainland.
Yes, they do.
They do
Amen.
a killer
It's
job.
a very
It can be
underappreciated position.
underappreciated, thankless job. They do a great job at it.
Most of the customer complaints come right through dispatch. Like you're taking it on the chin constantly for people.
Well, yeah, whether it's customers or salesmen.
Exactly. Or drivers. I mean, you're taking complaints constantly.
Yeah.
So they take a lot of abuse that is largely unthanked. So
Correct.
thank you, everybody. So Calvert started the Mountain States of Northern Utah as a franchise of Mountain States Supply in 2003. And you came over as one of the first employees in that new operation, right?
Yeah, I think first was probably Chess and Jed.
So you got to tell everybody out there, like, your come on to Mountain States story, because it's awesome. So you're going through a process of
Yeah.
buying a home, right?
Yeah, I was going through the process of buying a home. I knew that those guys were leaving before they announced it.
Right,
We're working. We were at Ferguson at the time.
right. You went through a buyout.
Buyout. None of us wanted to be there. We all knew that we wanted something different. James sought out this opportunity, and we were all in.
Yeah.
I mean, we were all in. But in the middle of building a home, you just can't jump ship right away.
Right.
So anyhow, these guys, it was the day that they were going to quit, and I knew that they were going to quit. They're waiting for the big boss to show up. They're gonna leave. And anyhow, I got stuck on the counter helping somebody, and I go out in the yard pulling this order, and I come in and I take my very first phone call from coming in from the yard is a competitor over at Standard Plumbing, branch manager at the Layton Standard, and he says, "Hey, I just heard you lost a bunch of people." And in my mind, I'm like, how in the world does he know this?
Right.
Nobody knows this.
Yeah.
And so the three of them are all sitting in the office, door shut. And I just walk in. I'm like, when in the hell are you going to announce this? I just got a call from Luke,
From a competitor.
who knows.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we just told everybody. You were out in the yard. You already knew. So we just. I'm like, well,
Thank you.
let me finish building my house and I'm coming over. And that's when James loves to tell the story. What makes you think we want you over there?
But the day you closed on your house,
I was out the door.
that's my favorite. It's
I
like,
was out the door.
sign the paper. Oh, by the way, I quit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's rock
Yeah.
star.
So I
status.
had to work a little bit through a new manager was not my manager,
Yeah.
because I knew I was going over. After hours, I was actually going across the street, learning the computer system.
So awesome.
Just so I could hit the ground running, right?
Oh, yeah.
But I told that manager when I finally signed on the house, told him I was quitting.
Yeah.
He says, "Well, go home and think about it. Go home and take the rest of the day off. Go home and think about it." Okay.
You get to pay me for the rest of the day. All right.
I go home and think about it, and I came back. I says, "My decision's still made." He's like, "Well, hang on a sec. There's somebody who wants to come talk to you," and is one of the higher ups at Ferguson. He didn't know who I was
Right.
up until 2 minutes before he got that phone call.
Right.
Anyhow,
So it meant nothing
it
whatsoever.
meant absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
It says, I'm leaving. More opportunity, and it's proven itself. There's been a ton more opportunity over here.
Well,
Best move I've ever made.
You've created a lot of opportunities. So, so you started at Mountainland as what position when you came over from Plumbers?
Well, when we opened up that branch, it was
Everybody did everything.
that franchise. We were doing everything. I mean, we were in a tiny. We had the yard because the building was being built, but where we had to stage our counter area for the time being was at the end of a strip mall, and it was maybe 5,000 square feet.
It was tiny.
It was tiny. I mean,
Yep.
every day we had to take product out of the warehouse
Yeah.
to function,
And then put it back
and
in
then
at
put
night.
it back in at night.
Yeah, I
it was
remember that.
it was a ton of work, but the building got built. It felt like this massive building. So as we talk expansion and growth,
Yeah.
I mean, Layton to Kaysville.
Yeah.
Layton was one move to the building and then over to Kaysville afterwards.
Yeah.
Was it,
Kaysville
was it that
awesome.
old Layton building? Was that the building?
Yeah,
Was
that was
that
the
we're talking
building
about?
that we moved into, but we were just down from it in the
Just
strip
down from
mall.
okay.
It's the very end unit of that strip mall right next
Because
to it.
we moved from Layton to Kaysville. I mean, I had only been here a few years.
Yeah.
So but I still remember that old Layton building. That was
Oh, dude, that
Yeah.
moving to Kaysville was huge.
Which our competitor moved into after we left, and then they
shut
shut
them
their
down.
doors. That
Gosh,
was
that's
awesome. That was a great day to see that that business
Yeah,
shut down.
Ferguson didn't last long in that one.
Nope.
It's a beautiful thing.
that was a hard building. I mean, I remember we helped because it was like all hands on deck moving everybody, and
Yeah.
that was a hole.
Oh, yeah.
That was a hole.
Well,
And Kaysville
it was,
beautiful.
as I like to say, 10 pounds of crap shoved in a 5-pound sack,
Yeah.
right? You had so much inventory in that building because you were doing a ton of business out of it.
Oh, yeah.
But everything was on top of everything. And
Yeah.
you had, stuff in the yard was just double stacked because you had no space. So once we got over to Kaysville, we're like, it's like when you move into a new home, it's like, man, I got empty drawers. What am I going to put in these drawers? You quickly find ways to put crap in everything, right?
Absolutely.
But when we got to Kaysville, dude, it was awesome. We're like, man, we'll never fill this
Well,
yard.
a
2
paved
days
yard. We
later.
went from a gravel yard that wasn't compacted correctly.
To paved.
It had the wrong type of rock. It was
to
the-
paved
pave
that
that.
wasn't paved correctly. And then
Yeah.
we found that out later. Bunch of sinkholes 2 years in.
Yep.
But because we were in Kaysville for, man, don't quote me, a year or two, and then we had to build the mez, if I remember right. Because that's about what happens typically with how
we weren't even in it a year and we built the mez in
Yeah.
Kaysville.
Because I remember we had to go up there and we had to. They were explaining to me what it was so that
Put
we could
together
do
the racking. Yeah.
do the CapEx request on that. And so I was just like, wow. And that's where we come down to. That's the same troubles that we even have now today of we get into these buildings and a year later we got requests coming from the branch manager saying, hey, I need some kind of a mez. We need more storage. And it's just like, you have a 35,000 square foot building.
You
How
don't
in the
need
world?
anything else.
Yeah.
Then you go up there, you're like, yeah, you do need more.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and square footage, but we talk cubic footage.
Yeah.
And you need to utilize that height as best you can because it turns
it's
into
wasted
dead
space.
space.
Hold
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Let's just enjoy this moment right here. You just took it from square footage to cubic footage.
That's why Mike's a senior director.
Wow.
Yeah. He's next level.
It costs
So is
money.
that- is-
It costs money to utilize that space, but
Should
it's
we-
valuable space.
As we're looking at new buildings, should I start getting the cubic footage for you?
Let's cube it out.
Maybe.
That's
That-
an
would
industry
that
I
be
mean, because you
better
look at
for you?
Burley. Burley is square footage wise
is
huge,
awesome, but your
but sounds
cubic feet isn't
enormous,
great because the
but 12-foot
ceilings are very
ceilings.
high. Yeah.
makes it really tough.
So what was the square footage or cubic footage of the old Layton building? Do you know that?
I don't.
Square footage, I know that.
What was it?
It was 7,500 feet of showroom and 5,000 feet of warehouse. So you're 13,000 square feet, 13,000 square feet
And then Kaysville is pushing
total.
Wasn't Kaysville about 30?
Kaysville Kaysville's 28,000 without the
roughly
mez.
30.
Yeah, without the mez.
Okay.
Just a little bit bigger than West Jordan. West Jordan's 26.
And which is crazy nowadays. We're talking about buildings in 30,000.
is our minimum.
Yeah. And we put a new branch in 30,000, and a year later we're getting yelled at saying that's not enough room.
Right.
So now we're building 60,000 square foot building, 50 to 60,000. And
Well, and when you're trying to add all those verticals into it,
That's
it
the
buys up
thing.
space quickly.
That's the thing. Is
especially
back
on the
then we
heating
didn't
side.
have vertical expansion,
Yeah.
like we do now. We were
That's true.
6 verticals, and now we're 15.
Yeah.
and I would say actually, 60,000 is probably not the right number. It's actually about 40, 45 is that's where we're at. I believe in Logan. Logan's pretty good.
Yeah.
Logan's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tons of space.
I think we've gotten better over time at utilizing showroom space to put the shelving in there and use it as merchandising, and so then you can use that more as you can utilize it better for sales space.
Yeah.
So,
And Logan's really good with that.
oh yeah, Logan's awesome.
That's a beautiful building.
Yeah.
That's probably one of our best ones that we've built recently.
Which that was kind of a big project of yours. You had to oversee that whole
Yeah,
construction.
it's nice to have these big buildings though that you can actually like kind of spread out a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, we're so used to just jamming stuff into these warehouses, and Logan is like, well, we can really spread out and organize it.
Well,
a whole
Logan
lot
was one of
better.
it was our very first build to suit,
It was
that we really did.
second
I mean,
Spanish Fork.
yeah, Spanish Fork.
And that one kind of,
But that one was we were constricted on space from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Logan, we went at that pretty methodically.
yeah.
And
that's kind of been our mold going forward here.
yeah,
The next building's coming on Nephi. I mean, same builder that we're having. So it's
Yeah.
the same type of building, but
Tilt
bigger. And then we're going to be doing Eagle Mountain, and we're doing a little bit bigger out there as well. So
Yeah, I'm excited for those stores.
yeah, it's gonna
it's
be
going to
awesome.
be awesome.
So what you also oversee the stores in the Midwest region.
Yep.
So what has been some challenges as we've grown for you? Challenges or opportunities, I should say.
Geographically,
Yeah.
probably is a bit of a challenge trying to get out there and really get to know those guys as well as you want to.
Right. Because they're great people. You just don't have as much
people.
time
They
with
got
them.
a lot of good people out there, and Zach Hooper does a great job
Yeah.
out in the Midwest.
Yep.
But some of the challenges is really just that geographical part is really difficult.
Yeah.
Just trying to get out there and see those guys on a regular basis to where you really get to know them. But the one-to-ones that Zach and I have are great.
Yeah.
They're huge for our business. Early on I didn't have one-to-ones as regularly as I should have.
Yeah.
And probably when Midwest came on board is when I really realized I needed to be doing those.
Yeah. It's important.
And it's been a huge help.
So one thing that you'll notice about Funk is that he's rarely in his office. If you go out to a branch that's in his territory, there's the likelihood that Mike, if he's at a store, he's on the counter working with the counter salespeople or working with the branch manager. I almost always see you at a counter somewhere. You're set up doing something at the counter. Instead of hiding in an office, you're usually out there where all the business is happening. So that, I think, is a reason why you've been successful in your role, is that you've kind of gone to them. You haven't waited for them to come to you. And that's probably why you are frustrated with geographical separation. It's because you want to be involved.
Yeah, and it's tough too. You get to all these branches and they have just a different layout, different numbering system. So when you do help on the counter, it makes it a little bit difficult to
Oh yeah, dude.
to pull those orders
I'm way lost.
and take care of the customer. I can write up the orders all day long, but
Yeah.
it's facilitating it or pulling the orders that makes it difficult.
Yeah.
So here's an interesting fact about you talk about this disconnect geographically. Just a kind of a peek behind the scenes here. When we were talking to the board about doing the purchase of the tap, that was probably one of their biggest concerns.
The biggest, still is the biggest.
Yeah, they still bring it up, and I think we've, with your help, we've kind of gone past that a little bit, or we've filled that gap a little bit. But
Mike's like our Swiss Army knife. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, how are we going to fix this? I don't know. Funk will take care of it.
yeah, it really is. There's a lot of discussions like that we have.
Totally.
And, hey, don't worry, Funk will take care of it. And it's easy for me to go to the board now and say we got one of our best people on it. So I feel confident that it's going to be resolved. It's going to be taken care of. But that was one of their main concerns. I don't know if we've ever told you that, but that was one of their main concerns as we were talking about this purchase in Wichita is how do we keep that connection and be able to bring the cultures together? And, we've done it so well when it's within our geographical footprint, but this was extending out so far and it pushed us to the limits. And, as me, I remember talking to the board, like, don't worry about it. Like we totally got this. And the flight only takes a day to get out there and a day to come back, but we can get out there, and
if the weather's good.
Yeah. If the serious going through Denver, if you don't get delayed and things of that nature.
Minneapolis.
So it was kind of interesting. I'll tell you, I'll admit that I was very naive in that saying that, it's going to be okay. Like it's going to be easy. And as we brought that on, it's been more difficult than I anticipated it being. And I even had to tell the board that I think it was this last board meeting that we had. I got asked about that, or it was the other one. They said, so what are some things, that you've learned from this? And because every situation we do, and we've told the board this, everything we do, we're learning from this. And we're trying to figure out how do we do it better next time, because we're always going to be doing it again. And so that was one of those things. And I had to kind of eat crow with them and tell them, say, I kind of underestimated it a little bit. I thought that was going to be easier than it was. So next time as we consider that, we're going to be, here's a few different things. It's spending more time putting good people like you, Funk, out there and having them help them see and feel what the Mountainland culture is. That's what we should have done better from the get-go. And now that we've kind of got you in the right place and everything like that, like we've seen a huge turnaround out there. And I shouldn't say turnaround. They do a phenomenal job. They were doing a phenomenal job. But now the integration, I should say, we've been better at that, more successful.
I think we're getting better. I think it's a learning process too.
Yeah.
I mean, we've grown pretty quickly.
Oh, for sure.
In the last, 5 years?
Yeah.
And it's amazing when you just take a look back, a snapshot back then, and see where we were compared to what we are today. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's Brandon, we talked about this the last podcast when we were talking with Quinn. We get asked a lot as we go out to industry meetings or peer socials or whatever we do. We get asked a lot, like how do you guys do what you do? Because greenfield expansion within independent distribution is not typical.
Yeah.
Most of the time they stay within their geographical area. They don't really move, and it's cradle to grave. They stay there until they die, right? And the way that we do it is not typical. And so they ask us, like, how the heck are you doing this? Because nobody else does it. The answer is really complicated and yet simple at the same time. It's the people. Mm-hmm. We get the right people, put them in the right positions, and we let them run. It's the EOS principles. And it sounds really easy to say, but it's freaking hard. And it takes a long time, and it takes a lot of investment, and it takes a lot of patience.
Absolutely.
And one thing that I didn't ever think that I'd say to you is that you have a lot of patience, dude. and you're like me. You got a long fuse, and once it burns out, look out, because it's going to burn really hot for a while. But man, hats off to you, because you have a lot of patience.
I don't know that I always did.
Well, you've developed it over time,
but
and I really think that's one of your strong suits. Now.
When you have a son who's high functioning autistic, you learn patience,
humility, and patience real quick, right?
A great kid, but early on it was a struggle, and I think I learned a lot of patience back then.
My favorite story about him was when he dove into the baptismal font. That's one of my favorites. I think about that every time I go to a baptism. It's awesome.
No, I think kind of hooking on to that, Joey. It's as leadership here, one of the things that I think I've learned, and I think you've learned as well, is, and you talk to our peers within the industry, these peers, they're type A personality. They're the founders. They're the ones that have gotten up off the ground, and they have to be in charge.
Intimately involved in
They
everything.
have to know every detail of what's going on. And you meet the people that they have within their organization, and they're phenomenal people, but they bottle them up.
Yeah.
And they don't let them do what they can do. And they don't reach their full potential. I think one thing that we've tried to do I've learned is, man, get the right people in the right seat and get out of the way. Let these people just flourish and let them fly with this. And when we sit at that table, I will tell you that I'm not the smartest guy. that sits at our table when we're meeting as an executive team. As I look at our whole entire company, I'm not the smartest guy. There are so many other people that are more knowledgeable in different areas. And I think we recognize that as an executive team. And so when we get the people in the right seat, it's just like, okay, just put Funk there, let Funk go.
Yep.
We trust him. He's got it. It'll be done. And we don't have to micromanage you. We don't have to get and say, no, Mike or Michael, we want you to do it this way, or we want you to do it this way. We just know you know how to get it done the right way. And you might do it a little bit different than I would do it, but we get the same result, right? And that's the beautiful thing about kind of our culture and how we do things and how we go about doing it. So
I think a lot of it is like giving people permission to fail too. And that's hard when, like, entrepreneurs, that's one of the hardest things that they'll tell you is that I didn't know how to fail. I didn't know how to fail well, and I didn't know how to let other people fail, because they will hold on to everything so tight and they'll drive it till it's successful. They don't realize that there's micro failures along the way that they've kind of covered up with just their processes. But allowing somebody to learn from a mistake and then grow from it.
Oh, huge.
That is massive in, personal development, just us as people. But in a business, you have to do that. How many times have we failed?
Well,
A freaking lot, right?
yep.
But it's how you come back from it and how you learn from it and how you teach others along the way that makes the real difference.
So I would challenge you on that. We talk about how many times have we failed? Yes, we have failed. But what's interesting to me is it's actually, I don't think there's as many failures as maybe we think there are or there would be in a normal organization. I mean, I'm looking at Funk right now and I'm trying to think of, okay, what's the time that Funk has failed?
No, I'm talking you and I.
No.
These guys, they don't fail very often at all.
I agree. We've made mistakes.
Yeah.
And, I'll own up to my mistakes. And again, that goes back to I'm still learning as well, just as everybody else is. But when overall, that's why I'm looking at a Funk and I'm like, okay, what's his failure? Or has he ever failed us? Man, I can't even think of a time that he's failed me.
No.
They're out there. I've learned.
We don't have Calvert in the room.
I've learned as well.
No, but I just kind of what you're talking about. Yes, we've had failures, but there hasn't been a ton.
Oh, no.
And it's because we have some phenomenal people. And what happens is, you let these people have their opportunity to flourish and just to try out, spread their wings, things of that nature. And you're so nervous that they are going to fail. But the reality is they tend not to fail.
And most of the time they surprise you.
Yeah. They're actually very successful. And there's oftentimes, Funk, I can give you examples of, I've looked at what you've done. I'm like, man, that's better than I would have done it. Like, I don't think I could have done it that well. Like, you've done that. Just phenomenal. And you and I have a really close relationship, I feel like. Is that right?
Yeah.
Do you feel the same way?
Yeah.
Okay, it's on record. And it's mostly because we're Chiefs fans, right?
A little bit.
We're not.
His wife's a Chiefs fan.
Oh, huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Well, I can feel her.
Funk likes the donkeys.
No. No.
Are you a
Absolutely
Cowboys
not.
fan?
When I was little, I was.
Yeah, there you
Oh
go.
my gosh.
But everybody was when they
That's
were little.
true.
I think.
But I
Emmitt
thought
Smith.
deep down.
Troy
you were-
Aikman, Emmitt Smith, that was hard not to root for.
Well, and even before that, Danny White and
Oh, yeah.
Tom Landry.
That was fun to watch.
Okay. Well, here's one of Funk's failures right here, I guess. Chalk it
Told
up.
you they're out there.
No, but we do have I feel like we have a special relationship. And that I would tell you when I started with the company, again, we kind of talked about this in our last podcast that, the finance department, there was no finance department, let's be honest with that. And the finance people were just kind of put out on an island. It's like, well, I guess
They were
we
bookkeepers. They weren't a finance department.
Exactly. I guess we need to have them because people say that we need to have them, but we're not going to utilize them. And it was just kind of this change and trying to just change that little, I guess, that mentality, that perspective of how to use them. And I remember that, working with Funk, you were probably one of my very first managers that I'm like, okay, I can trust Funk. And I remember like even calling you and saying, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, or what about this? How do you think about that? And it was just kind of one of those cool things. You were kind of my person that I would kind of go to, and I really trusted to say, hey, how do we work on this? And I remember one time you came to me and you said, hey, can I have all these different branches financials? And I'm just like, why in the world would he want this? And, he's going to start picking on people who are doing this stuff like that. But just getting curious, I said, why. And we really kept those financials really close to the vest. I didn't share them with a lot of people. All the information, we're different now. We're more open book about that. But I remember you responded to me and you said, I just want to be able to see what the other guys are doing to see how I could help them in the different areas.
Well, and I was a regional manager at the time. And so the stores I was asking for were the stores within my region.
Exactly. But I thought I'm like, whoa.
What do you want this for?
I'm like, that is
To hold them accountable.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
to help them. But it was to help them. I want to see the areas that I can help them in.
Yeah.
And it wasn't to make it a competition. It wasn't anything like that. And that was that was just, my mind was blown. And then I remember I gave it to you, and then you started seeing these branches perform a little bit better. And that's the funk touch, right? That we talk about, that we can put you in areas. And so I was just like blown away. And honestly, I think that's kind of where I started saying, maybe we don't need to hold this information so close to the vest. Maybe we can share it with the right people to help, everybody else, this process along the way. And that was just kind of a change of my mindset. And I mean, you helped me through that and kind of showed me the way on how to do that. So I mean, you and I trust you immensely, that, and think the world of you, even though Calvert doesn't. I do. I think you're a phenomenal guy, and your wife is phenomenal because she's a Chiefs fan. Apparently you're not, but
I am. I totally am. I went.
Then why did you say you weren't, man? Come on. I tried
mostly,
to
way back in the day.
He
but
said mostly.
from the time I met my wife and I went to my first Chiefs game at Arrowhead.
Yeah.
Completely
It's phenomenal.
It's
bought
different.
in. And
By the way,
I went through my many rough years of being a Chiefs fan.
Well, wait a minute. You weren't always a Chiefs fan.
for the most part, I have been since I was a kid.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Huh. I had a brother-in-law that was a Royals fan and a Chiefs fan.
Christian Okoye.
We had a dog named Casey.
Really?
Yeah. After that. So when I was growing up.
Your brother-in-law Al Qaeda? Because there's no Royals fans.
He's from Reno.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I
There's a
know.
lot of mobsters up there.
There's a lot of stuff that goes on in Reno. So
Hey, it's the littlest big city in the world.
so anyways, but I have been, I've followed him kind of
Yeah.
there. And, you got Andy Reid there too. And I'm a BYU guy.
That helps.
That helps a little bit. But he was also an Eagles coach. And
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't root for them. What is it? Fly Eagles Fly or
Go
something?
Birds, dude.
Something stupid like
And
that.
Dirty Birds.
Fly, Eagles fly.
Or
On the road
actually,
to
I would
victory.
cheer for the Eagles over the Bills, though.
As you
Oh,
should.
absolutely.
Yeah, the Bills are. I mean, they're horrible.
Yeah, they are. Let's be honest.
They're awful.
Cross-eyed Josh Allen.
They suck.
Come on.
He can throw the ball very hard in the wrong direction into the wrong people, but
Well, it's because he's cross-eyed.
Yeah.
Which is
yeah, cross-eyed is a cobra.
anyways, but back to you, Funk. I mean, you're a phenomenal guy and an exceptional leader within our organization, and I think great example to everybody around you, and even to me. So I appreciate all you do for us.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You talk financials, and it reminds me of when you first put out financials. We did not have financials forever.
What is this?
And I geeked out on them. And I think that's why Brandon and I have such a good relationship is I'm a numbers guy, and I like to see that stuff, and I like to dive into the numbers.
So
and
go ahead.
on a branch level, I don't know how we functioned as a company without seeing a monthly
Well, we didn't well.
update.
We didn't well.
We bumped along.
Yeah.
We bumped
so
along, but it was huge, and it was a game changer for me as a branch manager of a branch, as a regional manager of a region, to be able to see those and really know where we stand month to month instead
old
of seeing
mantra-
it at the end of the year.
The old mantra was profitable sales solve everything.
Right.
That was what we tried to do for everything. It's like, well, we'll sell ourselves out of problems. We can't
Yeah.
always do that.
Yeah,
I think it was as long as we have money in the bank, then we're fine.
Yeah.
And as long
We
as
can
we
split
can,
it.
as long as we can pay payroll, we're
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
it's
until
like-
we got to points where we almost couldn't.
Exactly. So every once in a while, you'll hear me mention about financials. When we first started them, we rolled them out to the branch managers, and there was a period that I think I skipped it for like 2 months just because it was like year end, and I was just all this other stuff. So 2 months had gone by without sending out financials, and I had branch managers reach out to me. No, I had a branch manager, and that was this guy right
Yep.
here saying, "Hey, when are we going to get these financials? You promised them. Where are they?" I'm just like, oh my gosh. And at that point, I was just like, these guys actually are getting it. Like they're,
Yeah.
anyways, but you kept me online, man. On
they're
task.
crucial.
Yeah, they are.
So, Funk, if you could tell one thing to some people who are just starting in Mountainland, what would you tell them?
Work hard, put your head down, and go to work. you'll be recognized. People will see it, and you'll have opportunities to grow and advance in the company.
It's awesome.
One thing I want to just mention, when you started here, was there a senior operations director?
No.
No.
Growth leads to opportunities.
Exactly. I think that's a cool thing to recognize too. That when you started, the position that you're in, we didn't even have, but we've had to because of the growth and also what you've done. We've created, positions to be able to continue growing and doing what we're doing, and we're able to do that because we have good people.
Yep.
We have people like you that we can say, okay, we can give them this responsibility. So, anyways, just a cool. Put your head down, work hard, man, and everything. You'll be recognized. I love that, and growth will happen.
I believe it.
It's awesome. Thanks for the time, Funky.
Oh, you bet. Thank
Appreciate
you guys.
it.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys and all you do.
Thanks for stopping by, dude.
Love
We
you,
don't do
Michael.
much.
Did
Yeah,
you hear
love
that?
you,
I
bud.
love you, Michael.
Love you too, Brandon.
Thank you.
Love you too, Joey.
Thanks, bud.
Spencer. Love you, man.
I love you so much.
Oh, yeah. Spencer, we forgot you were here.
Yeah, you did.
So, again, if you guys have any suggestions or topics you want to hear from us, something you want us to cover, or you have like deep, you want to know a different nickname for Spencer Shorts, whatever you want to hear, reach out to us at podcast@mountainland.com. Send us your suggestions, send us your critique, whatever you think of the show, and we'll try and improve it because we all know we suck. So, Mom, send it to podcast@mountainland.com.
Can we get it to Buck and Buster? Buck and Buster.
Attention, Buck and Buster. So thanks, everybody out there, and we'll see you down the road.
Thanks, everyone.